going on, everybody? You are live with Osiris. Welcome to the Author's Lounge. The world is filled with storytellers, and I, along with my guests, are here today in the Author's Lounge to help educate and inspire the young generation of writers and creators. Now, my guests are professionals in publishing, writers from a wide range of formats, and successful entertainers. They will provide beneficial advice on what to do and what not to do on your path to success. So, without further ado, I'll present to you our next guest. Let's go.
It is such an admirable feeling when you have wonderful individuals reach out to you seeking your advice or seeking your hand in any sort of aspect that makes you feel appreciated, makes you feel welcomed and loved, and just all things geared towards positive feelings. But today, our guest here, she reached out to me, or I reached out to her, or we spoke, one of the two. But she had a genuine love and appreciation for what this show represents. And even though I'm the host of it, and even though I created it, a lot of the context behind it really is heavily involved with my guests. And so today, my wonderful guest is an author. She's a writer. She has a wonderful story that is something that you all should really pay close attention to. It's relatable. It is something that is emotionally tied to her success. And I believe there are many people out there who would appreciate what she is going to say. So, without further ado, I present to you the wonderful, the lovely Mrs. Susan Keller. Good afternoon to you.
Thank you so much, Osiris. Thank you. I am delighted and honored to be here. I really, truly am.
Yeah, no, this is so wonderful. So, like beforehand, we were trying to figure out everything, get everything squared away, and so I certainly understand when it comes to technology and trying to figure some things out. So I appreciate your patience and your willingness to still say, you know what, instead of saying, you know what, let's reschedule. I'll figure this out and we'll do it next time. You were just as determined as myself. Even your husband joined along, say, hey, we're going to do this together. We'll figure something out to get this worked out. So thank you.
But you figured it out and you've helped me because now I know not to trust this thing.
Oh
This
yeah, I've run into
microphone.
that. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
when you have a microphone and you wonder what is going on, and you learn, oh wait, is it my headphones? Do I need to plug it in? Oh goodness. But regardless, as long as we can still hear you and I can hear you clearly, and vice versa, as long as we can talk, then that's really all that matters, and that's what will translate. And everything on the final version is going to sound really nice. So so
Perfect.
the first thing I want to ask, right? We mentioned your husband was there and he was helping you, and I know you've been married for some time. Um, I
Yeah.
don't I don't want to point out the number of you don't, but I will say that how much of your success couldn't have been achieved without having a partner there helping you along the way.
That is a question that I do think about because my husband and I are both retired and getting a little older every day. And now I'm kind of going, oh, wow, I had a birthday recently. I'm not going to talk about what it was, but it was
Mhm.
a very big number.
Yeah.
And he and I have been such supporters of each other for so
Mhm.
long. You know, um, is our marriage perfect? No, I don't know that there is a perfect marriage, but we're deeply in love. And I tell him every day, I said, I'm more in love with you every single day.
Uh,
I am more in love with you every single day. And to
mhm.
all of your beautiful audience members, I hope that they realize that if they stay if they stick it out, if they stay with their commitments to have a life together, that it will it will get more precious with time. It really does. And we have a relationship. I'll just go into this really quickly, but here's an example of what it's like. Okay, I plan the meals that we're going to have.
Mhm.
I make the shopping list. based on that plan. He goes out, buys the groceries, brings them home. I cook. He does the dishes. So we've got this great, balance of, of labor. It's just
Hmm.
perfect. And that is just kind of what our whole life is. And I am committed to seeing my books made into films. Now,
Hmm.
I couldn't do that if I didn't have him
Yeah.
because he takes care of so much around here.
Hmm.
And I do too in my way. But, he's my partner for
Yeah.
life.
That's beautiful. This It's a partnership, like I think when it comes to marriage and you know, obviously, every marriage is different, but I think the context behind it, the lasting of it is the same, which is a partnership. There has to be some sort of like mutual understanding and mutual respect that the relationship encompasses. I also believe that you have to grow together. If one person's growing and the other one isn't, then naturally there will be some sort of separation regardless of the emotional attachment to it. But as long as one is growing with the other, then I think that continued growth does pour into the beauty of the relationship. Even though, like, I agree with you, not every relationship is well, no relationship is perfect. No marriage is perfect. You just figure it out together as time goes by. And that's what I think I enjoy most when it comes to relationships, or even when it comes to storytelling or anything creative, is that there's no real template for it. You just have to get out there every day, and it's going to be something different in every manner. I know you also mentioned medical. I did military medical, and everything I learned about sticking by the book. I mean, it does to an extent, depending on which career field, but every day was so different. Every patient was different. Every case was different. Even if the context of it was similar, it was always different. And so for you, in your experience, you had quite a life, right? Quite the upbringing of how different avenues have led you to who you are as a person today. But if you care to talk about a little bit about your upbringings and how that has come to be who you are, and how you have come to be who you are today.
Sure. Well, I had a really traumatic childhood. My dad
Hmm.
was an alcoholic, died very young. My mother tossed him out, or he left. I don't know, but he was not really ever there for his kids.
Hmm.
He had a big job, and he was always out on sales calls and taking clients to restaurants. And one night he came home and he said, "Oh, you want to see something? Here's my Playboy Club card." And I thought, "Oh, terrific. Just
Hmm.
great. I'm so glad for you. What about
Hmm.
us?" I mean, he just like Playboy Club. Okay, fine.
Hmm.
Anyway, he was into his own world, and my parents had a horrible marriage, and I heard a lot of yelling and a lot of yelling, and so at 12 he left. I was 12. He left. Married his secretary, which, that boy, really creative dad, and adopted his second wife's daughter.
Hmm.
And, this was for me a wound I'm still dealing with, because he kicked me to the curb. I was discarded. I didn't matter anymore at all. And that was really hard. And on the couple of occasions that I was invited to his home with his new wife and daughter, I heard her calling him daddy, and honestly, I wanted to strangle her. I mean, I wanted to
Hmm.
throw up. I wanted to run out. It was, you know, not good. And that situation led me to be an overachiever in
Hmm.
college. I had a difficult double major from UC Berkeley in immunology and public health, and I thought, oh, maybe my dad will notice me. Maybe he'll love me
Hmm.
if I go to medical school and become someone important. Maybe I'll earn his love. Um, after a number of years there at Cal, I just said, maybe not, no med school. And I became I worked in the medical world for decades, but I was more of a writer than, a clinician for sure.
Mhm.
And I got some awards writing in the medical field. I also got awards writing poetry. And, I don't know if that helped my dad love me or not. I mean,
Mhm.
maybe he did, you know, maybe he did. But, you know, anyway, that's the genesis of my upbringing. It was pretty sad.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
But
How? Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I used that trauma
Mhm.
as a gift that if you live long enough, that can happen,
Mhm.
because I'm old enough now that I have time, which is so precious, and I have used that trauma, my dad's, alcoholism, and in 2005, I was diagnosed with an incurable cancer.
Mhm.
Miracle that I'm alive. And both of those traumas I was able to turn into books. And for that, I am so grateful. I really, really am. And I want to bring hope and a good story to people facing heartbreaking situations,
Mhm.
such as a cancer diagnosis or a dangerous or life-threatening drinking habit,
Mhm.
I really want to do that, and I have, but there's more to do on that score.
Yeah. What a powerful story. Palpable and powerful and just heartfelt and emotional. And you made me think about my wife. So when she got diagnosed with kidney cancer,
Oh,
it was completely by surprise because she went in. She had just received like weight loss surgery. After giving birth to twins, she ended up developing. I forgot what this medical terminology is insane. But essentially, it was a struggle for her to lose weight. She's since lost like nearly 100 pounds, and
wow.
under a year since she got into like a weight loss program, and has been consistent with it. But it was a real struggle for her. So she ended up, electing to do surgery, something with the stomach, making it smaller, gastric bypass or something like that. I think that's
Or
correct term.
bariatric surgery?
Bariatric. That's it. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yep, bariatric surgery. Yep, she received bariatric surgery, and the recovery process was difficult. But there was an incident that occurred with her, and I don't want to go like I know it's virgin or hip or anything like that, but she's allowed me to be open with talking about what's going on with her, and so without going too much into detail, she ended up going in for a different check-in procedure for to see what's going on with her, and then they found a mass in her kidney,
Oh,
and it was large, and they didn't know what it was, and the rest was history. And so she's had it burnt off, but no, this still there. And so one thing I've always feared with cancer is that even if it goes away, it can come back even stronger. And
yeah.
so I wanted to ask, right, like for your husband, um, how has it been for him, like you seeing him, knowing that there's really only thing he can do is just to be like this there as support, but how much does support help in the recovery? And I'm more so asking for me, just in case it comes back even stronger on my wife.
Yeah.
Um, like how do I prepare to help, I guess, her mentally, if that makes any sense?
Well, it does. And there's another side, at least for me, there was another side to having this. Mantle cell lymphoma is what I was diagnosed with. It's
Mm-hmm.
rare, it's very rare, and it's essentially incurable.
Mm-hmm.
Um, But my husband just was able to go day to day and do what he needed to do. He didn't stop working, and his boss was very understanding and let him work. Not all, he wasn't he didn't have to go to downtown San Francisco every single day like he had
Mm-hmm.
before. He could do some work from home, and that
Mm-hmm.
was very helpful. And he just he was he was calm. I don't know if that's
Mm-hmm.
the right word, but he
Mm-hmm.
was just okay. I'm here for you. And I had to get things like I had to shoot myself in the stomach with needles every day, for part of the chemo. And he took right to it. I mean, this guy almost has a medical degree in, helping with all kinds of different things when I went through a bone marrow transplant at
Mm-hmm.
Stanford. And he had to do all kinds of things like cleaning out, the tubes hanging out of my chest and sticking me with needles and, being very careful about our diet. And, I had to wear this respirator. I mean, it was nutty. And he just, okay, this is what we're
Mm-hmm.
going to do. And I'm here for you. And, I mean, honestly, Cyrus, the thing that really was maybe the most helpful was him just
Mm-hmm.
saying, day to day, we're just going to go through it,
Yeah.
He was always there for me, and we took it, rather, what's the word? Like, okay, this is normal life for right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like it just kind of grew an acceptance for it. It sounds like, and just continue to push and just enjoy yourselves. It sounds like so. I appreciate very much you sharing that, and it's I'm sure it's helpful not just from myself, but for other people who may be going through something similar in that regard. So your story with your father and how that created not only trauma but a fire simultaneously allowed you to just exponentially grow to who you are today. So when it comes to writing stories, and I'm no stranger to poetry or writing stories either, it's a little different though when you're writing because you have I don't know, I think everyone has a story to tell, whether it's in fiction or in nonfiction, but when you really have some hurt, when you really come from a place of pain, it seems like the stories never stop. And I'm sure that's the way of creative people creatively. I can look at that right behind me and picture myself, I don't know, it can be like a wave or something that I'm surfing on, even though I don't surf. So the mind like never stops. But I think when it comes to trauma and pain, it seems like the work and the wording is more powerful. Like you can just feel it. And so for you with your work, how much of your upbringing and your trauma and the pain that you endured, how well has that been for you on a therapeutic level when you've written down stories? Has it been healing for you at all, or does it even play into your trauma? How does that look for you?
Well, to be perfectly honest with you regarding the cancer, I, really don't think about it anymore. It's as if, I mean, it was 20 years ago that I was diagnosed, and I don't think much about it. I recently
Mm-hmm.
had to have my book, the first book I wrote, Blood Brother, A Memoir and a Miracle, which is about the cancer.
Yeah.
I recently had to have that republished because my original publisher went out of business. And so I decided I'm just going to get it up on Amazon. I'm going to do KDP thing, whatever. I'm going to just
Mm-hmm.
get it out there. And I was able to get the file, the
Mm-hmm.
PDF file from the original publisher. And before I had it laid out for,
Mm-hmm.
ebook and all that stuff, I read through every word of it. And I can honestly tell you it made me very sad. I had forgotten uh, what a trauma it was.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it, a thing of the past is really what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so grateful to be here. Every day I get up, I make a coffee, and I walk out into my backyard, and we have a beautiful view of hills and trees and the sky. And it's just every day I just go out there and I say, arigato, arigato, arigato,
Mm-hmm.
thank you in Japanese. And
Mm-hmm.
I have trees that are my favorites, and I say good morning to them. Hello, I love
Mm-hmm.
you, to trees.
That's awesome.
And we live on a golf course, so we have a lot of ducks. We even have turkeys. We have a lot of birds, and so
Mm-hmm.
say hi to all the critters out there. And I'm just in such a good place in my life, and I'm so grateful. I really am.
Ah, that
And
sounds like just a place of serenity that you where you reside at. And me, you had mentioned your husband had to work in like downtown San Francisco for a while. So San Francisco, so my ties with San Francisco, the city of San Francisco, I have great respect for. That's the place, that's the city that made me who I am. That's where I
really,
got. That's yes, ma'am. Yep. So I was discovered at the Bay Area Book Festival in Berkeley.
oh,
That's where I made connections at. Made some good connections there, just doing a book festival there. But it wasn't until I attended the San Francisco Writers Conference that's where stuff really started to happen. And the first time. And I only had that opportunity because of the Bay Area Book Festival, where I met some people. Some of them had close ties with the director of that conference, and they put in a good word for me. And I had no clue until I saw an email said, "Hey, Osiris, we heard, or yeah, I heard that you'd be perfect for X, Y, and Z. I heard you do this and you do that, and but a lot of great, wonderful opportunities came to me just living in Northern California at the time before I relocated here to Washington State. But like 2022, that's when things started to take off, and 2025 it really took off. And had an opportunity to go back to San Francisco. They flew me from Seattle to San Francisco, and allowed me to come back to that conference. And that's when I went and I pitched my show to everyone there. I was on the stage with the publishers and with the agents, and I was also an independent book publisher as well.
hmm
And so I went there as an indie publisher, but I had just relaunched the show. And as everyone was talking about what they've done, and they've been doing this for 20 years, 30 years, and I'm like, I haven't done it that long at all. And I was very much upfront and honest with everyone there. I said, I am not like everyone else here with with exposure and with things. I didn't say it like that, but I just told them I don't have the experience that they have. I have heart, I have determination and grit, and I have a passion to help people. And then naturally I started talking about the show, and that's what gravitated towards people was what I had to say about the message behind the show versus it just being another podcast, right? It's just anyone can make a podcast. Well, what's the meaning behind it? And once I told them the meaning, this is what it represents. I think everything else just clicked. And I didn't go up there with the expectation of anything happening with my show. I wasn't even planning on talking about it. But I think it's just naturally when things start to happen, it happens. But that was another good thing that happened to me in San Francisco. And so I've had nothing but great experiences being down in San Francisco, and I can't wait to go back. And yeah, so sorry, I just had to put that plug in because San Francisco is a beautiful city in the area, and I
yeah.
got a couple of friends that live around there as well. So yeah, so sorry, I digress.
No,
So,
that's great. That's great. Yeah. May I talk about the scam that changed my life?
oh, yeah, let's talk about the scam. That this is San Francisco. I might redact what I said. Oh
No,
boy.
no, no. It's not about San Francisco.
Oh, okay, okay, cool.
Okay.
We're safe.
And this is happening to so many authors. This is not uncommon, unfortunately.
Hmm.
So this was several months ago. I'm, on my computer all day, and I look at this
Hmm.
email, and it's from Verve Communications or Verve Agency. And I said, wow, and it was this person, I forget his name. Oh, we love your book. We really want to turn it into a movie, and, let's talk about it. And na 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 na. And I asked my son-in-law, who's in the movie, TV world, I said,
Hmm.
do you know about this agency? And he said, oh, they're good. Yeah, they're very well respected. And I said, okay. So this, evolved into this is the guy was telling me, we have I think it was 5 producers from big companies,
Mhm.
Disney and Netflix and, Paramount and, blah, blah, blah. And we are going to present them with, I think it was 8 books at our next meeting. And they're
Mhm.
going to select one to turn into a film. But we need a video, a trailer. And I said, oh, okay. So they said, here's a good company to do that. And, immediately I was kind of like, you're asking me for money? Wait a minute, that doesn't sound exactly right. And I talked to my daughter about it, and she's married to my son-in-law, and, they're in the movie world. And I said, please don't tell anybody about this because I'll be embarrassed if I don't get selected. And
Mhm.
so she did tell someone about it, a very old friend of mine who said, scam, get out of it. Get
Mhm.
out of it now. I'd already spent $3,000 on making the most horrible trailer I'd ever seen in my life. It was terrible.
Mhm.
It had nothing to do with the book. I mean, it really didn't. And so she put up she was waving the red flag there. So I went back to my credit card company, which was lucky that I used a credit card. And this is a warning to all kinds of authors out there who are getting scammed. Don't give anybody your bank account numbers because they
Mhm.
can wipe out your entire bank account. And this was just a $3,000 charge on my Visa. So I was able to get the money back. And I thought, wow, that's kind of sad that
Mhm.
there's so many scammers out there and they're really looking for authors.
Mhm.
And so I thought, okay, well, I'm just gonna, get over this. And one day I woke up and I said, wait a minute, why don't why don't I
Mhm.
get my books made into films?
Yeah.
Why don't I do that? You know? Now, I don't know what I'm doing. I clearly don't know what I'm doing, but I do have help. I'm reading, Save the Cat, which is
Yeah.
Save the
Yep.
Cat. Of
I sure
course you
do.
do. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've got a couple other screenwriting books, and I'm listening to screenwriting podcasts, some of which are a little odd, but anyway.
Yeah.
One of the things that I really want to do with my books and turn them into a film is that so many of the films that I see
Mhm.
seem to be very dark, really
Yeah.
dark, a lot of murders, a lot of horror, sci-fi. It's just,
Uh-huh.
and I don't know. That's not the world I want to live in. I really
Mhm.
don't. And I know that other people don't either. And
Yeah.
so there's drama in my stories, clearly, but
Mhm.
there's also a happy ending. And
Yeah.
that's what I want to do. So I'm um I'm making connections with Story Rocket, the people in Story Rocket.
Mhm.
IMBD Pro, who
Mm.
else? I got a new LinkedIn bio coming out, all focusing on a book to film adaptation route,
That's
and
awesome.
so I'm just gonna say, oh, and then Sunday, just 2 days ago, I woke up in the morning and I said, well, I'll write this screenplay. Why
Yeah.
not? Of course. I don't know what I'm doing, but I know there's resources. There's
Yep.
Save the Cat, there's classes, there's
Mhm.
my daughter knows a lot. She's taken a bunch of classes. She can help me.
Mhm.
Why not? You
For
know?
sure.
So I just had a real celebratory day on Sunday. Like, I'm going to write these things.
That's
It's going to be
awesome.
neat. Yeah. I got plenty of
Well,
time, you know?
yeah, oh yeah. That the what I love about the contrast of writing books and writing screenplays is that with books you have almost unlimited range. I say almost because
Yeah.
Well, I will say actually there's unlimited range with what you can do with a book in comparison to a screenplay where you have to condense it into a certain requirement.
Yeah.
Well, if you're going to go the traditional route of that, maybe never not exceeding 120 pages. Every page is a minute, right? But generally speaking, it's condensed, and
Yeah.
you could take a story that you've written and condense it into the story that you want to tell. And so like I want to go back to the scamming piece. Also, congratulations, by the way, on coming up on this past Sunday with with your celebration, and just congratulations on much continued success with your transition, or not really your transition because you're still, I would imagine, going to continue to write books, but your this new venture in your life with filmmaking. I love filmmaking. I freaking love it. um,
We may have to talk later.
Oh yes. Oh yeah. But as far as the scams go, absolutely. Absolutely agree with the staying away from it. And sometimes it's hard to detect, especially to those who aren't necessarily well versed in that world, and they see a good gig come about and thinks, "Oh, this is perfect. Let's do it." I think what in your case, what made it a little tricky was it initially started out as a recommendation from a family, your son-in-law, and not that the recommendation is what caused it, but the recommendation of, hey, this is the trusted source, but that trusted source giving the recommendation, which was scammy altogether. And so it's kind of hard, like when you're a first timer trying to detect certain things like that. And thankfully, right now we're in a good time period where there's a lot of resources, but it's hard to know where to look until you're in that circumstance, and then
Yeah.
you spend all this money. And now all of a sudden the answers come to you through that, and then you take that experience and tell people so they won't experience the same thing. It's very
Yeah.
much how I've understood it to work. But I think when it comes to these scams, right, especially for authors, and there's a lot of them out there, who are just praying and searching and posting up ads on social media, pretending to be what they're not. And I would highly encourage staying away from vanity publishing. For anyone listening who's new into it, vanity publishing, they're the ones who will have you, they will charge you, not charge you, they will ask you for money to fund your own book when you can do it as a self-published author. You can just do it on your own. Just, research it, take the time to do it. Even if you're not trying to go mainstream, you just want to do it through Amazon, go through Kindle Direct Publishing. It is made so simple and so easy that for anybody who wants to make a book about stick figures walking across the street on a Sunday morning for 10 pages, and 20 of those pages are pictures, you can do it. And it's made so simple. But don't risk losing hundreds of thousands. I've been scammed as well in the past, so I know the feeling too. And you just ask questions. If it sounds like something, if it makes you kind of go, huh? Yeah, you might want to look into that, right? Would you agree?
Exactly. And I've been scammed a number of times since the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Many other times I've been, and this
Wow.
one guy who claims he's from Netflix, he won't give up, you know.
Mm-hmm.
He's not from Netflix, you know. So my friend in LA who said, no, 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 this is a scam. She told me that if you get an offer from a studio and you're contacted by the attorneys of that studio, that's something to look into.
Mm-hmm.
But not just these people who claim to be, some sort of agent or,
Yeah,
So
it's
it's terrible that that's out there, that the people are, finding, oh, that's the way I'm going to make a living. But
yeah.
it happens.
It sure does. They dangle a carrot in front of their face, and that carrot can be like one of those major distributors, like Netflix or like a Showtime or
Yeah,
like a Hulu or HBO. And hey, we can make this deal with you. And I'd be especially careful with social media and how they go about. I've seen this even with the show where I've had some people reach out to me who said, I'm the creative director of NBC. I'm like, okay, let's fact check this. Let's look into this, because to me that doesn't sound that I've heard sometimes, like you can get a call randomly, I don't know, from Steven Spielberg, and if you're in that field and he calls you and you're like, there's no way this is him. Click, and they hang up, and then he calls right back and they say, no, this is really me. And I don't know. I've heard of stories like that has happened to actors, or business or entrepreneurs. That's somebody, at the top of the food chain contacts them, and it's just so hard to believe that they hang up on the person and they call back and they realize, oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean for it. But generally speaking, that doesn't tend to happen. So if you're contacted by people who are saying X, Y, Z, and it sounds so too good to be true, it's probably not what you want to go with. And also knowing your morals and your values of different whoever's contacting you also helps. I would say don't be a part of something that goes against what your morals are just for the sake of seeking some sort of celebrity. Like for example, you mentioned, there's a lot of dark that's going on, and that's not a representation of what you want to portray. So instead of going with them and possibly having it be rewritten to fit the mold of what they want it to be, you are doing it your way. And that's what I encourage for anyone, is to just do it their way. You may not have millions, and if you have millions of dollars, you have a lot more at your disposal to be more creative what you want to do. But if they don't have that amount of money, then just make it a passion project and just kind of push. Now, for you turning your book into a film, do you have a certain timeline on that, or is it just, hey, I'm just going to do this until I get it squared away?
Yeah, very good, very good question that I've asked myself a number of times. Um, I'm a pretty pushy person. I
Mhm.
really am, you know. I don't mean with other people, but with myself. I push myself very hard.
Mhm.
I try to be really nice to the people I meet, you know. But I would like to get it done. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna sit down and start it later today, you know. I mean,
Mhm.
I'm at the age where, I don't have a lot of time to just lose, just, oh yeah,
Mhm.
well, maybe in 10 years. No, don't think so.
Yeah.
I gotta get into it, and I want to,
Mhm.
I love the project. I love the work that's ahead of me.
Yes.
So much fun. I don't know what I'm doing, but that doesn't matter. I didn't know what I was doing when I wrote those two other books, my
Yeah.
two books. Didn't know what I was doing. I just sat down and did it.
Mhm.
And I am so grateful that I have the time in my life now to be able to do that. I'm so
Yeah.
grateful.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
You know what I love about this conversation is just it's a reflection, right, of the idea that you just do it. You just get out there and just do it. Don't hesitate. Don't wait. I also think you have a hunger too. You have a
Yeah.
burning desire to figure this out and to do it. And with a mentality sharp like that, it's hard to persuade someone in a different direction who's already have their mindset. Plus, you're also a strong-minded individual on top of the drive. So you're going to steamroll over people. Not literally people who are hearing this. She's not going to steamroll over anyone
No,
literally.
no, no,
It's
no.
a figure of speech for those who
Yeah.
take it serious.
Yeah.
But
No, I feel that, one of the things in Save the Cat that I read
mhm,
was that as a screenwriter, you need to be familiar with the films in your genre.
yeah.
So I went in and I did a bunch of research and okay, films about alcoholism, films about cancer.
Mhm,
Every one of them, somebody's dying.
yeah.
It's like, and even if they get over their alcoholism, uh, somebody else that they love dies.
Mhm,
And I mean, it's just, we watched The Days of Wine and Roses the other night. Wow. Wow. I had totally forgotten that Jack Lemmon was such an astonishing actor.
mhm,
But it's got such a sad end,
yeah.
and I don't want that. I don't want to do that.
Mhm,
And I think that I can bring hope and promise and a bright light. I really think I can
yeah.
without being dumb or stupid or because I've been through this. I know.
Mhm,
My husband and I kicked an alcohol habit. We
yeah.
did. We would drink drinking probably 60 drinks a month, you know.
Mm-hmm.
We both were working in San Francisco. We had stressful jobs. We had to commute. We live up in Marin County. And we were raising a child, running a home, worried about aging parents. And we would come home and I would pour myself a glass of wine and make dinner. And, we'd have another glass with dinner. And everybody we knew was doing the same thing. And at that
Mm-hmm.
point, there was even evidence that, oh, yeah, it's probably good for your heart. A little wine is
Mm-hmm.
good. And so, we never thought about the fact that this could be dangerous. This could be
Yeah.
harmful. And so, I'm not going to get into the story about how how my mind changed, but I will say really quickly, there's a podcast by a man named Andrew Huberman, and he's with Stanford University, and he's got a podcast called the Andrew Huberman podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And there's an episode he did from August 2022
Mm-hmm.
that blew my mind on what alcohol really does to us.
Mm-hmm.
Body, mind,
Yeah.
I said, wow, I think that's something I've got to think about,
Mm-hmm.
I want to be around. I've got 2 grandsons. I want to be
Yeah.
around,
Yes,
They're
ma'am.
cool little kids. They'll drive you
Uh-huh.
nuts, but they're cool little kids. And
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I got a couple of wild ones running around at
yeah,
4 years old.
yeah,
Crazy twins.
yeah, yeah. But anyway, I want to, there's so much to look forward to.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, that's the story I'm going to tell, that it's going to be hard. It'll be hard to quit or cut
Mm-hmm.
back, but there's a big gift at the end. There's
Is
a
is
big
is
payout, you know?
absolutely. And ultimately it comes down to your health and what's your reason for wanting to have good health and what does good health look like? And aside from being abstinent and relinquishing that behavior of consuming alcohol, for anybody who even has any sort of substance abuse that they're or substance that they are abusing, there's always a way around it, but it's a struggle for people, especially if that's their culture. Like people who grow up in the ghetto, people who grow up in in environments like trailer parks or places that lower incomes are considered to be. We don't really care about those people. Let's not help them. Let's help out the better, quote unquote, whatever the better is. The people who are stuck in those environments tend to repeat the same type of behavior because that's what is around them. They're not even aware of big cities, or they are aware of it, but they in their mind can't get to it. It's like a poverty mindset that kind of stays within the communities, and it's hard for those communities to break themselves away from that mindset because that's what has been given to them, and in their mind that's the best that it's going to be. And so being able to go to San Francisco or to live in an area where it is can be not that you're living in San Francisco, but in general, because we mentioned San Francisco, is that no, there's no way that can ever happen. And I always recommend against ideas where things seem impossible or improbable. And if you feel like you can work towards something greater, in your heart if you want to do something else, in your gut that this is not it. Some people are complacent, and that's okay. For me, it's not okay for me, but it's okay for other people.
Yeah.
I think much like yourself, you have to stay driven. You have to always want to grow, and you always have to know it's going to be a brighter tomorrow. So I love what you have to say about it and the struggles that you've gone through and the things that you've endured in your life and where you are today, and still a creative and still a storyteller, enjoying your retirement and knowing that, what, I went through all of that stress, all of that, whatever I went through. I just want to enjoy what time I have left. And even though there's not a timestamp per se for people, it's just best to live your life without worry to the best that you can. And I'll ask you one more question and then I'll let you go. So I appreciate you staying with me for almost 45 minutes. So thank you.
But I have one tiny little thing to
Oh,
say.
go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
My husband and I are not sober. We are mostly sober. We have maybe 6 or 8 drinks a month,
Hmm.
down from 60.
That's
And,
wonderful.
I told you that I woke up on Sunday and I was so excited because I'm going to write these screenplays. Well,
Hmm.
we went out to dinner that night and I had a glass of champagne.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. You know?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, you're good. You're good. I guess to that point too. Some people who struggle with alcoholism have a hard time completely going away from it, or even like cigarettes or any sort of substance abuse. I've always heard that if someone just goes cold turkey, it can almost kill them. They can get like cirrhosis to the liver, or something can happen and go to cardiac arrest. I don't know all the terminologies. I'm just going based off of what I remember. But as long as you can control it, that's the biggest thing. I think it just comes down to control. Like, can you control it? Some people, one of the things my wife had talked about, right? We had talked about earlier about her getting into bariatric surgery. One of the things that she had mentioned what was a struggle for her before the surgery was food. I have to consume food. It's like there. It's calling to me. Anytime I get hungry, anytime I see it, I just have to consume it. Now she wasn't someone who like ate every single thing that she did, but she knew what her triggers were. She knew that, hey, if I'm around this type of food, it might be a little hard for me to resist eating it, even if I'm not hungry. And, she trains, she exercises, but still, there's still that struggle. So, but as long as you can control and maintain what you're consuming, then I think everything else is fine. To some people, exercise, like excessive exercise, is ridiculous, but to some people, they enjoy it. I think it's crazy to some people that, hey, how could you want to live where there's nature versus being in a big city? Some people like that. So I don't think anybody should really get around and like be judgmental. Like whatever works for you works for you,
Yeah.
and just live your life.
And we all have a different path.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So my last question for you is now, oh wow, I actually had two questions. The second one just popped up. But how can people find your books or reach you if they wanted to contact you of any kind?
Yeah. Well, it's pretty darn simple. My website is www.susankeller.com. And Keller is all E's. There's no A in there.
There it is.
So there,
Okay.
www.susankeller.com, and my email, and I welcome emails, susan@susankeller.com. So it's pretty simple.
I think that's wonderful that you kept it like that as well. That's one of the little tricks that a lot of people, and I won't say trick, but it's something so small, but it's so big at the same time. The importance of standardizing like your handles or just your names, like susankeller.com. So simple that, hey, what's your name? It's Susan Keller. What's your website? It's Susan Keller. It works. A lot of actors that I've met actually, and authors, but more actors that I've met to this extent, they use their name as their website because it represents themselves as a brand. Like just
Yes.
like a Target.com or a Nike.com, the name.com is the brand.com, and
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I think that's the sensational. The last question. So given your background and how you've overcome things, and you've gotten to this point, what is your advice to those in a younger generation, right, who may be like you were, the little girl who just wanted to be accepted, and it still may or may not have been enough? What do you say to them? What should they do to better themselves?
Well, there is, and I'm going to forget the name of it, but there are therapists who deal specifically with, the wounded child.
Mhm.
And there's a acronym that I forgot what it is, and I never went down that path. I
Yeah.
never did that myself, but I do know that there are therapists who specialize in that type of healing.
Mhm.
And that would be my recommendation for somebody who's, not picking up a pen or a laptop and writing about it, because that's not going to help everybody anyway.
Mhm.
So I think, I think therapy that specializes in this particular problem.
Oh, perfection. Yes. Therapy is it is good. Depending on who you have, it could be even better. But ultimately, definitely get you all some help if you need it, and just continue to stay creative. Continue to find avenues of helping yourself be in a creative space and being able to still have that outlet to do things that has nothing to do with what you do on a day-to-day basis. Even if what you do on a day-to-day basis is similar to what you do creatively, still find a way to have time for yourself and a moment to just sit back and enjoy your time. So, hey, that's all I got for you all. Susan, I really appreciate you coming on board. Any closing remarks before I let you go?
This was so refreshing, so uplifting, so generous, so just like, thank you. Thank you, thank you.
Of course. No,
And if
thank
you're
you.
ever in San Francisco, let me know, Susan at SusanKeller.com, say, hey, let's meet up.
Of course. Yeah, San Francisco is inevitable. I will be back. I will
Okay, you
always.
let me know.
I sure will. I will always come back to San Francisco. For
Bring
sure.
your
Well, thank
boys,
you.
too.
Okay, that's the deal. Bring the whole family, wife, kids. Well, I don't know if the dog can go onto the plane. But just for sure for us. No, but you've been wonderful. Continue to keep me posted with your stories, and I can't wait to see the film adaptation of it whenever that comes about. I'm sure that's going to be a fun process as well. So,
yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Of course. Hey, thank you all so much for taking the time out of your day to tune in to today's episode. You're live with Osiris and Susan Keller, and it was a pleasure. Hey, thank you to your husband too. You all take care, and I'll catch you next time.